this is an entire lifetime of lies. So we'll talk about this. Actually, it's not just been one lifetime, it's been many lifetimes of lies versus hopefully much more scarcely the moments of truth. But luckily, coming into the devotional life, we have access to moments of truth. They're coming to us now. We are, you could say, connected. We've gotten some remnants of the merciful waterfall coming from Lord Chaitanya, coming from Krishna. We have all come into Srila Prabhupada's movement in some which way or the other. So moments of truth have entered our life, but there's been so many lifetimes of, you could say, a false way of living that, unfortunately, the tendency to seize these moments of truth it's difficult for us because we've been doing otherwise for, you can't even fathom how long, Prabhupada says, from time immemorial. Immemorial, yes. From time immemorial. So from a time which we cannot even calculate. So the habits are there. We have so many samskars that are hampering us. I'm going to explain a little bit, if you can remind me, especially to explain about how bhakti works and how Maya works. And everything is happening in the consciousness. How? Through samskaras, through impressions. So we do certain things, and there's, you might have heard of samskars. Does anyone know of a samskar, a Vedic samskar? Everyone wants at least one of them. Yeah, when you get the Janayu, or in our tradition, when we do the Diksha, initiation, this is a samskar, right? Yeah, so when they give at the Diksha, then, yes, a samskar. What else? Garbhadan samskar, when trying to conceive a devotee child, even the sexual act, it should be done with mantras and intention, and right? So these are samskars. So what's the most prominent popular samskar? What? What's that one?
Like the cremation of the body leaving the soul. Like when someone died and we do the samskar.
Yes. So that is also at the end of life. There are samskars to be performed for the journey of the soul towards its next destination. But the most prominent one most people usually want to do is a marriage samskar, the Vivaha Yagya.
Think of that.
Yes. Of course you're not thinking of that. You should have been thinking of this for many years now. But it always seems to slip your mind. So, you should, yes, of course, be thinking of this. So the marriage samskar. So what happens is, we've had so many material samskars from time immemorial that still, it's just in our consciousness. And what is a samskar? A samskar is an impression of an experience we've had previously. And then the consciousness, it thinks, I'd like to enjoy like that again. And so it thinks, let's do this. So you might have tasted cake at one point in your life, and you say, that was tasty. Maybe I can arrange cake today. And then like that. And then you do your life based on the samskars that appear in your mind. And we're completely slaves to our samskars, actually. We're just completely overwhelmed. As soon as we get a whim, it's like an impulse, and due to a lack of control of the mind, we just chase our samskars over and over and over and over again. That fruit looks good. I enjoyed that fruit this time. Boom. And then you go, I'm going to get this, and I'm going to procure this for my enjoyment, like I did previously. And so this is the process that's happening here, and over and over and over again. We're just being victimized, and you could say enslaved by this process. But bhakti, it is also working through samskaras. But now we need to create bhakti samskaras, or devotional samskaras, devotional impressions. So that's what the sadhu does. He comes to the people, and he creates bhakti samskaras for them. He himself is carrying bhakti, and so much bhakti samskara has been given to him. So now he starts creating these impressions through Harikatha, through captivating kirtan, through through pure chanting, and maybe exemplifying pure chanting, and so on. And by getting more association in sadhusanga, more and more these bhakti samskaras are coming to us, and more bhakti realization will come to us. And then what will happen over time is when we go off on our own, instead of being victimized by lifetimes of material samskaras, now we have these bhakti samskaras that have come in our life, and then the two wolves fight. On one side, the material samskaras, they're saying, no, let's enjoy like we used to. But then now, no, I have these new bhakti samskaras. Gurudev said this, and I see the Vaishnavas doing this, and then they're fighting, and every day you're battling your mind. And which wolf will win is the one that you feed. So the more bhakti samskaras that we can accumulate in this life, then this is how you win. This is how you'll overcome the mind, taking you back to old patterns and old habits over and over and over again. But you must realize what's happening. You must realize how you're being victimized by this thing. You must. Or else you will eventually, no matter how strong you are in your sadhana, without the sufficient bhakti samskaras being created, all that's going to happen is in the mind when trying to do sadhana, the material samskaras will overtake the bhakti samskaras and we'll lose. So, we're not here to lose. We're here to win. We have a heroic effort in front of us. So these are some activities. Every day, Mangal Arati. Every day, hearing the Bhagavatam. Every day, reciting the mantras, chanting our mantras every day. That's why when we take Diksha, we chant certain mantras at the prescribed times of the day. And every day, we're creating samskaras that are, and especially when a sadhu helps create that samskara for us, it'll be a very powerful experience, and then will be the thing that can overcome the material samskaras. So this we should know. This is how bhakti works. On one hand, we're being victimized from all of our previous memories and impressions of enjoyment in the material world, but now new impressions are being created of service to Krishna. So we must keep going where new impressions of service to Krishna will be created. We're not here to create. We don't have the capacity to create. All we're in the conditioned state. We're being victimized over and over and over again. This isn't aroha pantha, self-elevation. This is avaroha pantha, which means descending mercy upon us. So not, we can do our sadhana every which way, upside down, this way, crossed legs, twisted like a pretzel. We could do so many things, so many different ways, but ultimately, this is descending mercy, and we have to just get under the waterfall. That's what we're trying to do in this life. Any other attempt is futile, actually. So so Shukadev Goswami, this is going to be relevant because this is where we are in the Bhagavatam, because Shukadev Goswami is talking about what ultimately life is for. And so, before I begin, because yesterday I got so caught up in talking with everybody that I didn't even properly do my Mangalacharana, and I felt very bad. The whole class to me was a failure yesterday, even though some content was good and the interactions were even good, but to me everything was a complete failure because I didn't do my proper duty of doing Mangalacharana. So, let's begin. Exit here. Maybe one of you can scroll. And we'll all chant together.
यदामह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपां साग्रजातं सगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणासिन्धु जगत्पते गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे.
So, first of all, I'd like to offer my obeisances to the Gurus in my life, both Diksha and Shiksha, who, without their mercy, I'd have nothing to offer. They are quite literally my connection to any spiritual knowledge, and anything I may share is only by their mercy. I then want to offer my obeisances unto all of the Gaudiya Guru Varga, including Srila Prabhupada and all the previous acharyas, whose books and ecstasies and revelations this has been carried down to us here in the Western world in 2026. And finally, I want to offer my obeisances unto all the Vaishnavas, past, present, and future, which actually includes all living entities, but especially those present with us here today. Vanchakalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhubheva patitanang pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So, we were talking about samskars. And today's Ekadashi. Ekadashi is a day where so much extra mercy, or conversely, extra punishment, which is also mercy. Everything is mercy of the Lord, but you'll get more punishment than usual today if we slip up. Like, meaning if we get engaged in material activities. Like even eating grains normally is not a sinful activity, but on today, even eating grains is considered sinful on today. And there's so many negative reactions that come. So, this is a great opportunity though. For the materialists, this is like the worst day every 2 weeks, and even if they did pretty good, but if they carry these material conceptions of life, they will inevitably get caught up in the practically everything that you do materially, even eating, is like sinful today. So that's why the devotees, they eat very simple foods, only prasadam and so on. Like this, or they don't eat at all. They completely fast and then focus on spiritual life. But it's an opportunity actually, because it reminds us of what the prime essential of life is. And this is very relevant because Shukadeva Goswami, he just let us know what the prime essential of life. So again, it's a review. We had a Bhagavatam class 2 days ago. What is the main question of Bhagavatam? Maharaj Parikshit asked what?
What is the duty of a person at
What
all
is-
times, at all places, especially when he is
Yes.
in
What is the duty of a person in all times, all places, in all circumstances, especially for one who's about to die? And the answer is,
Remembering Krishna as Supreme Personality of God.
that's the final, but you cannot do it without the first two instructions. Yes. To hear about Krishna, this is, Prabhupada has made, this is the most important, prime essential. You have to first hear about Krishna from someone who knows about Krishna. If you don't do that, then your kirtan or trying to remember, how can you remember something that you've never experienced? It's impossible. If I tell you, okay, Devanshu, remember Krishna. Remember what you and Krishna's pastime you guys had? You might be embarrassed. Oh no, I don't remember. Why? So you can't remember something you've never experienced. So actually, how does experience come? It's through the hearing process. where actually the sadhu, the guru who has Krishna, they can actually impart their experience with Krishna to you through Harikatha. This is actually the only way that you can actually get a darshan, or the experience of Krishna. So we have to seek out the sadhu who will do that for us. That is our prime essential, hearing. So devotees, what do? Even at the stage of prem, we say sadhu sangha, sarva shastra kai. I should have quoted this yesterday, because I did this whole class on sadhu sangha, and Madhav quoted it to me at the end of class. I was like, oh, why didn't I share? Lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hoy. Right? Sadhu sangha, all the shastras say, by one moment's association, lava matra sadhu sangha, in sadhu sangha, sarva siddhi hoy, all perfection can be attained. And then it even says, Krishna Bhakti Janma. So when Krishna Bhakti has taken birth, Mula Hoya Sadhusanga, the source, the root, the Mula. We talked about Dash Mula Tattva yesterday. Or what is it? The Muladhara Chakra, right? The root chakra. So with the root, Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula, the root of the birth of Krishna Bhakti, Hoya is Sadhusanga. Hoya Sadhusanga. This is Lord Chaitanya. And then it's Krishna Prema, Krishna Prema Janma. When Krishna Prema is even taken place, it's taken birth, Janma. Tenho Puna Mukhya Anga. So, Tenho is like that, which was previously stated. This is Bengali. But, so what is that? Sadhusanga. Tenho Puna, again, Mukhya Anga is the primary limb. So this is the primary activity, even in Krishna Prem, is Sadhu Sangha. And what do you do in Sadhu Sangha? What is Maharaj Parikshit doing right now?
Hearing.
Yes, he's hearing. He's hearing from Shukadeva Goswami. So this is the prime duty of a spiritual aspirant, to get in situations where they can hear from a sadhu. So this is a very important activity. And so I'm not saying I'm a sadhu. I am saying I know some sadhus, and I've got to hear from some sadhus, and it's been really helpful for me. And I'll share whatever I can to you guys here. I'm like the middleman between you and Sadhu Sangha. But I can share what I've, whatever small realizations I've gleaned from being in Sadhu Sangha. And that in itself is giving you that Sadhu Sangha that I've gotten. And then hopefully some samskara impression is made, where hopefully in the heart you say, oh, I would also like to get some sadhu sangha. And then you go do that in your life. That's very important. So where are we? He said the most important thing is hearing, then yourself glorifying, and then remembering the Lord. This is the process. Hearing, then the ability to glorify will come. Like this is kirtan. A class is kirtan, actually. Why is I'm making some attempt to glorify the Lord. Like when you're chanting the Maha Mantra, you've had to first heard the Maha Mantra, and then you can chant the Maha Mantra. If you've never heard the Maha Mantra and someone says, please chant the Maha Mantra, if I ask one of you to sing a bhajan and you've never heard the bhajan before, you'll be embarrassed. I don't know how to chant this bhajan, right? So similarly, asking people to chant, to glorify, cannot be done without proper hearing. So this is very important, prime essential. And so then we get to the point now where he talks about how powerful that the transcendentalists, their main activity is taking that which they've heard and then constantly reciting it. And this will allow one to remember. Because actually, when we hear something, but if we never recite it again, guess what'll happen? You'll forget it. And that's what happens, right? Did you ever hear something and you're like, wow, that was so good. But if you don't actively practice reciting it and sharing it with others, you're going to forget. So this is actually everyone's duty. What you hear, you have to also share. That's kirtan. That's why this process is Harinam Sankirtan. This is the main duty. If you just hear and then, oh, it's perfect, I'm just hearing, and you don't share, you're not going to remember. It'll all be forgotten in time. Why? Because you're going to get bombarded with material samskaras again. Because all you've done for previously so many lifetimes is materialism. And so eventually what will happen is you'll get perverted away from, even if you've heard good things, but if you're not regularly sharing these things, it'll all be forgotten. So that's why we try to remember certain prayers and certain verses, right? We sing Samsara Davana Lalita Loka. But do we know what it means? We must learn what these things everything we chant, we should learn what they mean. Or else we're not actually reminding ourselves, and then we might actually forget. Oh, yeah, this material world, samsara, davanala, is like a forest fire, Lita Loka, that's afflicting everybody. It's like creating a hellish condition for all of us. But if we don't, we might forget and be like, oh yeah, the world is great. The world's my oyster. Everything's for my enjoyment. And then next thing you know, we're trying to enjoy the material world and we just don't understand why it's not working. But if we actually know and we know what we're doing when we practice in the morning and the samskara is there, the bhakti samskara, like, oh yeah, the material world really, really sucks. And you like actually, that's a bad translation. But anyhow, but if you know what you're doing, it's helpful. But Trinaya Karunya, but delivering that mercy, Ganaganatvam, like a merciful rain cloud. Why? Because that person has Praptasya Kalyan, all auspiciousness, Gunanavasya. He's because he is an ocean of all good qualities. And then Vande Guru Shri, I offer my obeisances unto the lotus feet of such a guru. If that actually becomes part of our practice, like Prabhupada gave in the morning, and that samskara is there regularly, and you understand what you're doing, you're not going to get deviated every day. That's why we do sadhana bhakti. This is to protect us from getting victimized again by our past impressions and habits. So, hearing, chanting, remembering. And now, when you do this, Shukadev Goswami, he said last time, what is the value of a prolonged life which is wasted, inexperienced by years in this world? Better a moment of full consciousness, because that gives one a start in searching after his supreme interest. So we do so many things. We associate with family. I'm going today. I haven't seen my sister-in-law for 2 years, so we're going. Abhiram hasn't met his cousin, so we're going. We associate with family. We work jobs, and we try to always situate ourselves in a better position materially. And we spend so much time doing these things. But actually, this is all prolonged. Even if you do this for 120 years, this is all a prolonged life which is wasted, inexperienced by years in this world. It's all temporary activity that doesn't help one, actually. It's not helping you. So Shukadev Goswami is saying, better a moment of full consciousness. Just one. You can do, even if you do pious things, even if you do dharma, you give in charity, you open hospitals, you feed the homeless, you do all these things. All of these things are wasted unless, better a moment of full consciousness. What is full consciousness? Actually being conscious of Krishna. Now we say, I don't know anything about Krishna. Yes, you need to find somebody who can actually give you Krishna. But you do know something about Krishna. You at the very least know, all right, we were trying to share last night, what are the root truths? The first is that there is a supreme God. That there is that was Prabhupada's message. All the intricacies of Krishna, you don't want to see Krishna as the supreme God. But if you don't know first that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, you're never going to make it to that part of Krishna, where even now he wants you to forget that whole aspect, that he is the supreme personality of Godhead. So anyhow, that's the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, but we're in the first canto of the Bhagavatam. So we must know that there's a God. We must know, and we must realize that just a moment, our moments should be used in hearing about him, reciting his glories, and remembering him. That should be how we understand. We use our moments, and we should learn more and more about God. And the more moments, Ekadashi is the perfect day for this, because Ekadashi is the day where you're scripturally encouraged heavily, and with threat of all kinds of sinful reactions coming your way. Today is the day where you got to reduce. You must reduce, or you're going to get it. I've seen so many times, a lot of devotees, they don't like to take Ekadashi so seriously. So they don't want to reduce their workload, or maybe they even want to increase their workload. I remember one time, I won't mention the devotee, but he was a senior devotee. He's a Prabhupada disciple, actually, but there were just some ideas that were going off the rails a little bit, where, he didn't want to focus on all his chanting, doing all his rounds, prescribed rounds and things like that, Didn't mind if onion and garlic slipped in the food supply and things. So, and I won't mention them, but I remember very viscerally it was a Kadashi, and I was working with and for him at the time. And I was like, Prabhu, my days off are going to be a Kadashi. Every 2 weeks, just give me a Kadashi off. And that's my days off. I don't need weekends. I don't need Saturday, Sunday. I just need a Kadashis off. And I was trying to tell him, like, I really experienced great benefit by practicing a Kadashi. I just, didn't, because it's not so culturally well known that, yes, this is so important, at least in the Western world. So he didn't really take it very seriously, but I remember he was trying to really inaugurate a bunch of projects. I was like, we should really try to do this tomorrow, a bunch of physical labor, we should reduce our thing. And he's like, no, we don't need you. You just stay off, we'll do it. And I remember it was like a bunch of hay, and he loaded a bunch of hay, and he was going to transport the hay, and somehow or other, something slipped, and all the hay spilled all over the road. And he had to spend, like, so much time picking up all this hay that just went all over the road. And why? Because these are the type of things that happen on Ekadashi. And it's not just that one. I've seen like dozens of experiences where devotees, they want to focus on the material life on Ekadashi, and they just get pounded by Krishna. And why? Because they're supposed to know better, especially devotees, because devotees are supposed to know better. Devotees are supposed to know better. So some things have to be done. There might be a deadline. There might be like a really, there's really no other way around it. Like you might have some legal, I have court on Ekadashi. Well, judge, it's Ekadashi. I don't do court on Ekadashi. And you see how well that works for you. So some things have to be done, have to be. But on Ekadashi, we reduce to the minimum that we can. Why? Because of what this verse is saying, that today is Hari Vasara. This is the day of Lord Hari, and what we do on this day, we give him as much of our attention as possible. This is what Ekadashi is about. To be as Krishna conscious as possible. Now you may, like even myself, today's the only day that we'll have an opportunity, that we've had an opportunity to see my wife's sister and sister-in-law in the last 2 years. And so even though in my heart of hearts, I'm like, today I want to be with the devotees, But, today is a day I should fulfill my duty. It would be good for my wife. It would be good for my wife's family. They really want us to be there and so on. So I'll do both. I'll be with you guys in the morning, and then in the evening we're going to fulfill that duty. But at the same time, we should reduce our material activities as much as possible today. So hearing the Bhagavatam is an amazing activity. So better a moment of full consciousness, because that gives one a start in searching after his supreme interest. Because in full consciousness you realize, what do you realize? What is the Shreya? The word here uses Shreyase, the supreme interest. What is the real Shreyas of life?
What is pleasing to Krishna?
Yes, what will allow us to ultimately remember Krishna, and in that remembrance, Krishna Prem can be achieved. What will actually allow us to do that?
Prayer is definitely forgetting.
Yeah, the prayas are the temporary activities, that which give immediate enjoyment, but that's exactly how you forget Krishna, and that's what's victimizing us over and over again. Be like, ooh, that looks good, sense gratification. And then you just go to organize how you can get sense gratification. So, but we have to stop. This is, even if you do that for a prolonged life, this is wasted life, prayas. And the Shreyas is moments of full consciousness. And if you get clarity even for one moment, you will immediately search after. So actually, Krishna tells how to do that. He says in Uddhav Gita, Tasmad Gurum Prapadyeta Jigyasu Shreya Uttamam. If you're jigyasu, if you're inquisitive into the Shreya Uttamam, the topmost Shreyas, tasmad gurum prapadyeta. You'll actually, therefore you should surrender to a guru. And what is the qualification of a guru? Shabde parech nishnatam. The transcendental sound vibrations, they're fully conversant with them. And they've heard them and they've recited them to others, and now it's in their heart, deep, and they can share them with others. And then Brahman Upasham Ashraya, which means in Brahman, in the supreme truth, they're fully absorbed. Ashraya, they've taken full shelter, and Upashama, they're completely detached from the material world. So this is the qualification of a guru. So if you are, yes?
Would you say like they've embodied Krishna by remembrance?
Well, yeah. So even before they can fully, embody Krishna, because that's like a high thing to fully have, Krishna. And the soul is not to embody Krishna in totality, but to have a relationship with Krishna as servant in different types of moods. But what did you ask again? Did they embody?
Do they embody Krishna by the remembrance of him?
Yes. So by the remembrance of the experiences of bhakti, the samskars of bhakti given by their guru, they are able to experience Krishna. So if they've achieved this Brahman, they're fully absorbed. And then there could be also, there's tiers of experiencing Krishna. There's Brahman, Paramatma, and then Bhagavan, right? And so anyone above another can act as guru temporarily for them. Like all of us are called to be Vartman Pradarshika gurus for the people of this world, Like we go out on the street, we give someone a book, we give them some experience of Krishna consciousness in some way. That's actually acting as a guru to them in some way. But ultimately, the real guru who's going to really help you, they should be Shabde Parichanishnatam, fully conversant in the transcendental sounds of the Lord, meaning the Vedas, the Amnaya. We talked about that last night. And then Brahman Upashamashraya. They should be fully absorbed in remembrance in the Lord and Upashamashraya, and therefore they'll be fully detached. Like a fully full person they're removed of hunger. So if a person who's completely absorbed in the Lord, they're completely detached from material life. They're not, because they're so satisfied already. Just like when you eat a nice prasadam and then they're like, "You want any more of this?" I'm like, "No, I don't. I'm really satisfied." Like I'm so full, I really don't want any more. You've all experienced being so full, you're like, it doesn't matter how good the rasgullas are or the gulab jamuns or whatever it is. If you're full, that's it, you're full. So Guru is like that, actually. He's so absorbed, he's so full in his absorption in the Lord that materialism isn't at all. Sense gratification is just completely, nope, I'm full. I've gotten my share in this life or previous lives or so on. So, this is if we're inquisitive of the ultimate good. So now in this verse, we're going to get some evidence in the Vedas of this, that better to have, remember, what is the claim? Better to have one moment in full consciousness than a whole lifetime in other activities. So this is the evidence. So we'll recite. Ready? Katvango nama rajarshir Yatveyatami hayushaha Muhurtat sarvamutsrijya Gatavana bayang harim. Katvanga, King Katvanga, name, Rajarishi, the saintly king, Gyatva, by knowing, Iyatam, duration, Iha, in this world, Ayusha, of one's life, Muhurtat, within only a moment, Sarvam, everything, Utstrijya, leaving aside, Gatavan, had undergone, Abhayam, fully safe, Harim, the personality of Godhead. The saintly king Katwanga, after being informed that the duration of his life would be only a moment more, at once freed himself from all material activities and took shelter of the supreme safety, the personality of Godhead. Actually, the word he used for supreme safety is abhayam. Abhaya means fear, and abhaya means no fear. Like Prabhupada's, do you know what AC, Bhaktivedanta, stands for? Yeah, that's his name, to be fearless. But also Prabhupada, he translates it here as fully safe, you know. Like, why? Because if you're fully safe, there's no fear there. So, purport. A fully responsible man should always be conscious of the prime duty of the present human form of life. The activities to meet the immediate necessities of material life are not everything. You hear this? Even though you have an immediate necessity in your material life, because you could lose your material life if you don't address this today, by the way. But they're not everything. They're not everything. One should always be alert in his duty for attainment of the best situation in the next life. Human life is meant for preparing ourselves for that prime duty. Maharaj Katwanga is mentioned herein as a saintly king because even within the responsibility of the state management, he was not at all forgetful of the prime duty of life. Such was the case with other Rajarishi, saintly kings, like Maharaj Yudhishthira and Maharaj Parikshit. They were all exemplary personalities on account of their being alert in discharging their prime duty. Maharaj Katwanga was invited by the demigods and the higher planets to fight demons, and as a king he fought the battles to the full satisfaction of the demigods. The demigods, being fully satisfied with him, wanted to give him some benediction for material enjoyment. But Maharaj Katwanga, being very much alert to his prime duty, inquired from the demigods about his remaining duration of life. This means that he was not as anxious to accumulate some material benediction from the demigods as he was to prepare himself for the next life. So I actually think like how amazing Maharaj Katwanga is. He just pleased the demigods. He's a great warrior, and the demigods hired him to come up and fight for them. And he actually helped the demigods defeat over the demons. And what does he ask for? And he asked for, I would like to know when I'm going to leave this world. Why? Because that's really valuable. If you know when you're going to die, you'll know exactly. You know, if I used to be a host and a waiter at Applebee's. Employee of the month, June of 2012. That was like one of the last times I worked, actually. A long time. But anyway, no, I work, but a different way. But so anyway, there was something called shoppers. And they were like secret corporate agents who would come in and test the employees. So, you know, you always had to be in fear that a shopper might come in. So you were always supposed to do all the right things. And then in case you got the shopper, they'll evaluate your performance. He said this, he said this, he said this, and so on. So we always kind of had to be aware. But it would be amazing if you got a tip. Sometimes someone got a tip. I think that person's a shopper, And like if you got a tip that this is a shopper, so instead of being on, following like a robot all of the things they needed you to do to have your performance, you knew the test was coming. But that test, that shopper experience is death. Everybody is going to get a test at death. But the problem with death, you have no idea when it's going to come. You'll never be able to predict it unless you get some great benediction like Maharaj Katwanga. But Maharaj Katwanga, he is a king. He has so many things, and he has so many, potential material interests. But what does he do? He gets a boon from the demigods. He says, please tell me when I'm going to die. Why? Because that's the most valuable information. When, even Maharaj Parikshit, he's so fortunate. He got cursed that he will know he's going to die in 7 days. He's like, oh, my test is in 7 days. I have a week to complete the test. How valuable, actually. Even I read my astrology. I have a general idea of when I should die in my life by my astrology, actually. So I know there's going to be a period, for me it's the K2 period, a K2 period of my life where I really should wind down everything material and focus heavily on spiritual life, because my test should be coming in that period of life. So some of it we could all actually maybe evaluate. But he knew. The demigods told him, you'll die in one moment, actually. At one muhurta, that's 48 minutes. So in 48 minutes, he completely detached his material life, and whatever he knew of bhajan, he fully and wholly, solely focused on the Lord, and he achieved perfection. So this is the actual... So this is the actual purpose of life, because you should understand this life, this temporary life, you're working so hard to get something in. This is to prepare you for the next life. And if you're spending all your time trying to procure things in this life, you're wasting the whole opportunity, actually. The whole opportunity, if you just try to, how can I enjoy in this life? You're not actually preparing, it says in the 5th canto that this life is meant for divine tapasya. This is what this life is for. In the 11th canto, what is this said? I memorized this verse on the day Abhiram was born. And it goes, Labdva sudurlambamidam bahusambhavante manushya marthadam anitya apihadiraha tornam yateta napatera numrityu yavan nishreyasaya vishaya kalusarvatasya. Pretty much how rare and amazing that this human form of life is. And once you, as long as this life as long as you've not fallen down to death in this life, that you should focus on Nishreyasaya. Nishreyasaya is the ultimate good, Shreyas, the ultimate good, one's spiritual life. Why? Because Vishaya, collecting sense gratification, Nishreyasaya Vishaya Kalusarvatasya, that it's indeed available in any species of life. You can be an ant. That's what ants do. Where can I get my breadcrumbs? So don't be like an ant, just working to get your breadcrumbs in this world. So many people are doing that. They work day and night to get their breadcrumbs. And, I have to do this, and let me stack this on this and this and this. Don't worry about so many of these things. Better one moment of full consciousness. One moment. Than all of these things. Just one moment of being attentive in Krishna consciousness is better than a whole lifetime of doing these things. But we spend our whole lives doing these other things. Why? Because we're foolish. We don't know our best interest. And that's why it says, then, in a moment of full consciousness, that will give one a start in searching after his supreme interest. And then eventually all of your moments will be spent in this way, and Krishna will take care of all your needs. Because he's interested in that. The devotee doesn't have to worry about the same things that the karmis do. The devotees don't have to worry about, how will I be maintained? How will all of these things happen? Krishna will just arrange it. He'll make a magical arrangement. You don't even know how it can come. I've seen. This place is a magical arrangement for me. I quit my job. My last job, I was even working for devotees. I tell you guys the story? But anyway, I've told you the story so many times. But I quit my job, and on that day, Krishna was like, good. That was a very valuable lesson, that you realized that you don't want to trade your time to your time working in this world to try to procure money for your spiritual life, and you're ready to more sincerely focus on your spiritual life. Here's the whole salary that this job would have paid you for the whole year. On that day, it was a magical arrangement. And that set me up for coming here. And again, here I was tested in so many ways. But eventually, at the end of the day, we had to really focus. What are we going to focus on here? And this spiritual gift that we're trying to give to people through this home, this became the main focus. And Krishna arranged so many magical circumstances that, the college dropout who hasn't been working in this material world somehow or other can have the resources to purchase the house and so many things. This is all magic, actually. I've done no material thing qualified that would allow me to ever buy a house. Some people, they work for many, many years and they don't get the opportunity to buy a house, actually, in this country. It may be like that. But somehow or other, Krishna had arranged multiple magical scenarios, actually. Why? Because I was trying to practice bhakti yoga. I'm not even a very good bhakti yogi. Maybe you've noticed. But if you have noticed, that's fine. But even what little practice I try to do, Krishna reciprocates with me, and you don't have to work so hard to get the results in this world. That's why 2 verses ago, Krishna was saying that, whether you have all material desires, no material desires, or you're a completely liberated person, this is the prime duty for everybody, to hear about, to glorify the Lord, and to remember the Lord. So if you're trading your time and not making time for these things, you're missing. So much knowledge is missing. So much realization is missing. And you're working against your best interest, your ultimate shreyas. So King Katwanga, he was not like that. He wanted to know, I would like to know when I'm going to die. So what happened? He knew when he was going to die, and the demigod said, oh, good thing you asked. You actually only have 1 muhurta left to live. That's 48 minutes. Like we try to get up in Brahma Muhurta, that's the 48 minutes before the 48 minutes of sunrise. So 1 hour and 36 minutes before sunrise. That's right. So he realized, oh, I'm going to leave. So he dropped everything. He didn't care about his wife. He didn't care about his children. He didn't care about his wealth. He didn't care about anything. And he just fully and wholly focused on whatever meditation and bhajan he could do to the Lord. And he achieved perfection. And this is the proof. The proof that at death, you're going to be tested. I'll give you an example. I heard this story from devotees. You all know Janavi Harrison? Yeah, really nice Kirtaniya devotee. She told this story one time, and it really made her think. And then when she told this story, I remember it had a really profound impact on me. Now, I didn't hear it personally from her, but I remember she shared it on some podcast or something. And so the story goes that there was a devotee who was chanting Hare Krishna for many years. He was a practicing devotee. And he was in Mayapur. And in Mayapur is the Ganga. And the Ganga can get very strong some points of the year, though. Very strong. So he, I forget why, but he was going out in the Ganga, and he wanted to swim in the Ganga. And, but next thing you know, the current caught him and took him, and he's swimming, and he couldn't get to shore, and he started to drown. So, yes, it's a very unfortunate situation. But he sees a boat in the distance, and he's reaching for the boat, but the boat doesn't see him, and he's going under, and next thing you know, he's going under. So then he's under the water now, drowning, like ready to die. And bubbles start coming out of his mouth. This is what happens when you drown and you're trying to breathe and you can't, and then whatever's left in your lungs comes out in the form of bubbles. And he's looking at the bubbles. And then all of a sudden, he remembers a bubble commercial from his childhood. And he starts singing, in his mind comes the jingle. There was some jingle that it was for the commercial in his childhood, and the bubbles are coming. And then this is what he's about to die. By good fortune, the boatman did see him, and he came and he reached his hand down and he grabbed him at the moment of death and pulled him up. And that devotee was, but then he had the realization, I was going to die. I'm in the holy dham. I was chanting Hare Krishna for so many years. But then here, when I'm in the moment of death, I'm thinking of the commercial from my childhood about bubbles. Yes, this is how strong the material samskaras are. So you can't just, I'll give it a little bit of time and I'll pass the test, I'm sure of it. No, not, you can't assume that. You've been victimized for so long. How many things are stuck in our head? I hear my Abhiram's got these crazy toys, and some of the toys speak and play things. And one of them is a little cow, and it's like, Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I. And you've seen the cow shaking his stupid little butt and indoctrinating me with nonsense music. But I find myself, I'm like, oh my God. When Leia's family was here over the weekend, all the kids were getting together and they're playing all the loud toys, and I'm like, I usually hide the toys that make noise so I don't have to get so indoctrinated by them. But I found myself, I'm like, when I relieve myself from the toys, I'm downstairs, and instead of chanting Hare Krishna, I'm like, Old MacDonald had a farm. I'm like, oh, Jesus. No, this is what happens. We get indoctrinated with so many, silly things in this material world. So many samskaras are created. So who knows how I'm going to die, but if I'm, it's really up to the Lord. But if we have knowledge, like Katwanga, of when we're going to die, and we can really focus ourselves. So that's why every day in sadhana bhakti, we try to give ourselves full consciousness. We try to sit here and chant the holy names of the Lord. And even if we have no realization of Krishna, we beg the holy name, please, give me something, reveal something to me. I'm here, I'm calling to you. I don't know anything about you, Krishna. I don't know anything about you, Radha Hari. But here I am. I know that I should at least call to you. And then we should do like that. We should be ready, eager to see the arati of the Lord, to sing the bhajans of the Lord. We should learn the meanings. All of these things are full consciousness. We should be eager to hear the messages of the Lord via the Bhagavatam. We should be eager to hear from realized devotees of the Lord who have experience, especially those who are pure sadhus, who they're actually experiencing Krishna. That's the qualification. Brahmanyu Pashamashraya. They're fully absorbed in Krishna. They remember Krishna. And they're completely detached from the material world. That's the symptom of that you're not going to find that they have all kinds of material attachments. And then also they'll be fairly conversant with the transcendental sounds. They'll be able to tell you the conclusions of the Vedas. So, yes, this is my story. But better one full moment. Like this devotee, his whole practice, what an amazing moment for him to realize that, wow, my whole practice was about to be for naught. I was about to, this is what I was focusing on as I'm about to lose my life, But now, Krishna has shared his great mercy because that boatman went and got him, and he had an intense realization, a huge humbling moment, and I'm sure his practice became a lot more sincere after that. So it was I know another devotee, she's very popular, especially in the North Carolina region. She's Amala Harinam, he's like a great kirtaniya. His mother, Mother Kamalini, she was telling a story. One day she was going to the Hillsborough Temple, but there was a flood at that time, and she was leaving from her home, and next thing you know, she drove into the flood, and it swept her into the river, and her car got completely submerged, and she had to push herself out the window and swim, but she almost died and lost her life. It was a big crazy thing. But she, and on top of that, but she said, that moment was, I remember speaking to her about it. She said that moment, it gave her a really wake-up call that you could lose your life at any moment, and that this all could be for nothing. You get in a car accident, you do this, that, and the other. You never know. Someone lets mold go in their room, and next thing you know, they're breathing in, they could just drop one day. That's why we have to take care of this today. You never know when it's going to end. So we have to, we should spend as many moments as possible. Like Ekadashi, it's scripturally, you better spend as many moments as possible today, or you're going to feel it. Krishna is going to crack down. That's his day. You get all kinds of negative astrological influences today if you do anything else other than bhajan. So, but every day should be like this. Every moment we should say, am I wasting this moment? Or can I give my full consciousness to this moment? We always have to be checking.
If you even have to ask, you are.
Yeah, I mean, if you're actually very contemplative like that, that's a really great start, and the wise person will be like, yeah, I should give my full attention to this moment. But the reason I say this is because most of the time we're not asking that question, and we're just tunnel vision, absorbed in all kinds of duties in this world. But this verse, the verse previous, is saying this is all a waste of life. We're wasting our lives. Better one full moment in Krishna consciousness. So better, one moment in the Mangal Arati, one moment in sincerely chanting, one moment in really paying attention to the message of Bhagavatam. Then, all the other things we do throughout the day. So try. I know we all have so many things. Some of our demands for survival are higher than others. I'll give you an example. an American-born citizen in America has much less demand for their survival. It's just a fact. Where an Indian immigration situation in America, there's much more demand for your survival. So Krishna sees this, he knows this, he excuses this. But you are also born in the most auspicious place on the planet to understand these things. So even in the midst of all kinds of extra duties, you have a good opportunity to still be very Krishna conscious. So we understand, I get it. I know how hard you guys are working, and I know how much demand is on you. I don't empathically know it, like I'm not feeling it myself, but I know, I could see it. It's obvious to me how hard you're all working. But Krishna has a plan for you, because you even see who are the top earners in this country and all pretty practically all over the world. It's coming is the Indian people, because they know how to work so much harder than everyone else, really. But no, we're not here about being top earners. But if you apply that same spirit of work and dedication to spiritual life, you're unstoppable. You are unstoppable. So Krishna is testing you all with all these responsibilities. But what can you do to give whatever time you have left to Krishna? It's the test. That's the test for you. We have so much time in the day, and I'll spend an hour here, I'll spend an hour there, and and then I'll do this, that, and the other thing. But always the test is, am I giving my moments to Krishna? So the king at once left the heavenly kingdom, which is always full of material enjoyment of the highest standard, and coming down to this earth, took ultimate shelter. You could open the deities, actually. What? Oh, yes, that's right. That's what I do. That's so. So, which is always full of material enjoyment of the highest standard, and coming down to this earth, took ultimate shelter of the all-safe personality of Godhead. He was successful in his great attempt and achieved liberation. This attempt, even for a moment, by the saintly king, was successful because he was always alert to his prime duty. Maharaj Parikshit was thus encouraged by the great Shukadeva Goswami, even though he had only 7 days left in his life, to execute the prime duty of hearing the glories of the Lord in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. By the will of the Lord, Maharaj Parikshit instantly met the great Shukadeva Goswami, and thus the great treasure of spiritual success left by him is nicely mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Maharaj Katwanga was a previous Vedic example, but now Maharaj Parikshit, he's actually going to be even more fortunate, because he knows he's got 7 days left to live, and here he is in front of Shukadeva Goswami, and he did no food, no water, no sleep. I'm just here to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. So, good morning. This gentleman is taking breakfast with us this morning, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. There's if not, I can send you the Venmo or something. But you probably have to take it soon, right?
Yeah.
You're going, so maybe finish and then.
I can help myself.
He'll take care of it, because we have a couple kitchen rules and stuff like that. So we'll help you. Don't worry. So like this. All right, let's read on. So Maharaj Parikshit, how fortunate he is to know when he's going to die and to be able to fully absorb himself and focus. But honestly, we have no idea when we're going to die, so every moment we have to put into this. Why? Did you lose the internet or something?
No. I just randomly called Sita Mataji. I don't know. I'm in shock for a second. Sorry.
No problem. I'm sure it's fine.
Saying what just happened.
Yes. No, I'm sure it's fine. So anyway. Tavapye tarhi koravya saptahang jivitavadi upakalpaya tatsarvang tavadyat samparayikam. Tava, your, api, also, etarhi, therefore, koravya, O one born in the family of Kuru, saptaham, 7 days, jivita, duration of life, avadhi, Up to the limit of. Upakalpaya, get them performed. Tat, those. Sarvam, all. Tabat, so long. Yat, which are. Samparayayikam, rituals for the next life. Maharaj Parikshit, translation. Maharaj Parikshit, now your duration of life is limited to 7 more days. So during this time you can perform all those rituals which are needed for the best purpose of your next life. So he's doing all the best samskaras that need to be done, and the best thing he's doing right now is sitting and hearing about the Lord.
Here.
So, yes, hearing. Here. Hey! So, Shukadev Goswami, after citing the example of Maharaj Katwanga, who prepared himself for the next life within a very short time, encouraged Maharaj Parikshit by saying that since he still had 7 days at his disposal, he could easily take advantage of the time to prepare himself for the next life. Indirectly, the Goswami told Maharaj Parikshit that he should take shelter, told Maharaj Parikshit that he should take shelter of the sound representation of the Lord for the 7 days still remaining in the duration of his life, and thus get himself liberated. In other words, everyone can best prepare himself for the next life simply by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, as it was recited by Shukadev Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit. The rituals are not formal, but there are also some favorable conditions, which are required to be carried out, as instructed hereafter. So this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is being shared, taking time in our life of hearing this is of the utmost importance. Even if there's a cute baby wandering around, we must hear Srimad Bhagavatam. It is of the utmost importance, and this is literally the path of perfection. So, get yourself in whatever situation in your life. You want to be in a good environment where you can regularly hear these things. You want to be in a good environment where you're around realized sadhus who can impart these things to you, help you with these things. This is what we want to do in our life. Luckily, some of us are professional, working professionals like Deepthi and Parth. Some of us are still looking for our situation, what that's going to look like. But maybe it's possible. Maybe, who knows, something remote can fly and you get to stay right here. It may be possible. It may be possible. Who knows what Krishna will arrange. But no matter what is arranged for you, and some maybe you're just passing through, but no matter what is arranged for you, you should try to always be in a situation where you can do Bhagavat Shravan. Remember, these 5 principal devotional names have to be done every day. Bhagavat Shravan is one of them, but Sadhu Sangha is the chief. Nam Sankirtan this is the main duty that Sadhu Sangha will tell you to do. So you glorify the name of the Lord. Bhagavat Shravan, Archa Vigraha, and Dham Seva. If you can do all of these things every day, your life will be perfect. So these are the 5 of most essential things. So just see what's possible. So, let's see. Nope, too long. So I think we'll end here. Any question or reflection, realization? Mimi, it's at least my last day, or our last day with you while you're here in Mantra Central. So thank you so much for being part. Any reflections from your small experience here at Mantra Central?
Well, a lot for sure, but whenever you choose Krishna to be like your homage and your purpose,
Yes.
he correlates your desires. Whatever that may be. If it's not homage, then it'll be something else.
Yes.
But, this is
Yes.
a direct blessing from Krishna, and just to have such great association while I'm here. And thank you so much for having me and making me feel at home.
We're very happy to have you. Thank you for sharing there's a verse that Krishna, he says that exact thing you just said. Do you know the verse in Bhagavad Gita?
Well, probably.
You might have heard, Yeya tamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanu varshante manusya partha sarva asha, which means that as he who surrenders unto me, I reward him accordingly. And then he says, Yeya tamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham. And what he means, tam stataiva, and similarly, I certainly, as he surrenders unto me, Bhajamyaham. I worship him as he worships me. That's bhajan, right? Yeah, I worship him as he worships me. So Krishna, as you worship him, if you worship him for material things, he will come to you in the form of material things. No problem. But if you worship him with real bhajan, with real surrender and devotion to him, he is going to come and reciprocate with, devotion to you and giving you more realization of him. So that's the most valuable thing. And so, I wish you all that in your life. Please understand the value of your moments. I know you guys have so much demand, especially my Indian friends here. I know you guys have way more demand than we have in order just to meet the basic means of survival here. But still, whatever little time you have left, put it in Krishna consciousness. Absorb yourself in the programs here, whether I'm here or Parth's here leading or something, and you will have the most success this way. You'll have the most success this way. You just remember also this we did it a few days ago, this verse 11, that this is the doubtless and fearless way, the chanting of the holy name of the Lord is after the ways of the great authorities, is the doubtless and fearless way of success for all. Whether you have all material desires, you're desirous of material enjoyment, you're free from all material desires, you're desirous of material enjoyment, and those who are self-satisfied by means of transcendental knowledge. So no matter where you're at, this is the doubtless and fearless way for all. So just chant the glories of the Lord. In order to know some glories of the Lord, you have to hear them first. So hear the glories of the Lord, chant them, and everything's going to be fine. You're going to remember Krishna, and it's going to be good. Yes?
I also have one small thing to add, but
Yes.
it's this weekend we're going to the Rath Yatra, and this is another part of Krishna's magic, because this has been something that not necessarily I wanted to be a part of, but it was just always something that sounded nice, or when will the day come to do this, be there, whatnot. I did absolutely nothing to be here and be able to experience the Rath Yatra now. But this has been something my whole time being Krishna conscious. New York Rath Yatra is something, and I love Rath Yatra. That's one of my biggest things.
Your favorite things.
That feed me. So.
But Krishna arranged that you can do
nothing.
it. Yes.
I did absolutely nothing besides.
Yeah, well, you did something. You had a desire to associate at Krishna's Rath Yatra, and so as you worship him and you have that desire, he says, "Oh, I'll worship you here. Here's the arrangement. Please come." So you did the most important thing. You desired to be to render some service at the Rath Yatra, at least just even by being there and hearing the kirtans and being in the kirtans and so on. So now Krishna is. Yes, I can arrange. And then he sends Keshava Gopal, or this person, that person, and this person, and so on. So this is this is how Krishna works. Don't worry, have pure desires and Krishna will fulfill them. And if you don't have pure desires, don't matter, this is still the best thing for you, and Krishna will have a special program for you, where he'll show you exactly what you need at the right time and the right moment, and he's always taking care. So, I hope you all know that. Hare Krishna, thank you so much. Parth, you can blow the conch. And Haribol.
This is 2111.
No, we did 13 and 14 today. But the verse was 2, 1, 11, yes. Dada.